Hello everybody and welcome to the Try Training Harder presentation about Ironman UK in Bolton for 2017. We're just going to wait for a few more people to sign on and then we're going to kickstart off with this presentation. If you're wanting to ask any questions, then please do feel free just to ping a question in the chat area on the right hand side of your screen, and we'll try and answer those ones as we go. And if you have anything which you think about afterwards, then please also just drop us an email and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can do. In the meantime, we'll just wait for a few more people to sign in, and we'll get started straight away. In the meantime, I suppose this is when we ask if there's any jokes, but I realise that no one else can talk back at me, so I'm not going to disappoint you with a joke or anything along the lines either. But just bear with us a couple of minutes and we'll wait for everyone else to sign on and we'll go ahead then. Okay, so as we just wait for a few more people to log in, we may as well get started with a bit about the agenda and also the plan of what everyone wants to do, and that way hopefully people can get on with their evenings as they go. So this evening we're going to look at just talking through a little bit about the Ironman UK event. We'll cover it into more detail in the later series of these webinars, but then we'll go into a little bit about your planning, so how we're going to set up your season, how we're looking to try and help you get the best possible results that you can do for Ironman in the summer of 2017. We'll look a little bit into how you're going to be doing your testing and what you can try and do from it as a result of your testing. And then we'll look at how to apply a plan for your specific needs with regards to your training, and then look into a few things we're trying to aim through this phase. If you do have any questions, you can either ping them in the chat area. I will try and pick those up at key points. Otherwise, we'll look at either picking it up at the end, or if you fancy dropping us an email at the end as well, that can also work. So if we just look at then a little bit about ourselves and who I am as well, so you know. My name is Philip Hatsis, and I'm one of the coaches with Try Training Harder. Try Training Harder itself is a coaching company based in the UK. However, we also happen to be unfortunate enough, or fortunate enough, depending how much you dislike or like the weather in the UK, to have a training base over in Portugal. So for some of the year, we're based out in Portugal, running holidays over there. We are all full-time coaches, and the coaching staff are able to do online coaching, clinics, and also put together training plans, which is what we're going to be talking a little bit about to you guys later on. We really do believe in trying to get the most out of athletes and helping them, really achieve whatever their goals are. So we're working with high performance athletes at the very sharp end, but we're also looking at helping people who are trying to do their first triathlon, or maybe trying to do their first Ironman as well. So we've got a wealth of experience in all sorts of different areas. A little bit about myself. So most of the time you speak to coaches and they talk to you a lot about the racing and experience which they have. And as much as I am quite proud of the results which I've done, I'm actually also really more of a coach. I do see myself as a coach before an athlete, and you can see from some of those photos I like working with athletes, and you're going to more likely see me on the sidelines working with somebody nowadays, especially than actually racing myself. Sadly or happily, if you're my shoes, I absolutely love data side of things, and I like kind of being at the cutting edge of the sport, and also having worked with the Ironman UK partnership last year as well. You may have seen me at some of the 70.3 or UK Ironman events, giving some of the presentations and last minute top tips and advice. So in terms of hopefully what you can get out of here, I'll be around on hand for a few touch points throughout the phases. So looking in again at January for the next one, and if you do need anything, you can get hold of me through our email address at the end. So without further ado, then if we start looking into how we look at planning for the season. Hopefully the slides are going to come through. Yep, it has. Brilliant. So when you're looking at planning out a season quite a large way out from an event such as an Ironman, we're looking at splitting up the training into some bite-sized chunks. So we're looking at having your macro phases, which are basically big phases, and your meso phases, which are slightly smaller phases. We look at having around about a 6 month lead into an Ironman, especially if you're going to be doing your first race. So we'll just split that up into 3 phases. You've got your base phase, your build phase, and your competition phase. Your base phase, in general, can be looked at as the base of a pyramid. So the wider the base of that pyramid is, the more base training you do, the higher up you can build that pyramid. And then obviously you peak at the very top of the competition which you're trying to do. With you guys looking at peaking for Ironman UK in mid-July, that brings us back now all the way to about here today for the start of our base phase. Base phase will take place for two meso phases, not macro phases, 2 meso phases, M3 and M4, and then go through for a further 4 times 4 week blocks in your build phase, which we'll talk about in January, and then again going into your competition as you start tailoring in your efforts and really making everything a lot more specific. The best way of thinking about this is that the preparation, the base phase work which you're doing at the moment, is all about getting your body ready to go into training. As you move into your build phase, that's when you're actually starting to make the real gains in fitness. But you can't really make those unless you've gone through your preparation, your base phase first and foremost. When you do start working in your build phase efforts, if you haven't done the steady state work, the good quality work over the base phase, you will come unstuck quite quickly, and you will find yourself struggling a lot more with the build phase. So it's really important that you do get this first phase over and done with, and do it really well as well. So you'll see, and you go through the training, that the efforts are lower intensity, they're a little bit easier, they're a little bit longer, which plays into the Ironman distance psyche, but at the same time, they aren't just junk miles. They are really, really important as you prepare your body to start undertaking the efforts of an Ironman. And when you look at the overall training plan, you're more than welcome to steal this and copy it up. But you can write in notes about where you might be and what other competitions you may have. So if we look at the tail end of the season, clearly we've got the big event, the Ironman event race in July, and that's what we're looking to try and peak for. But we might be looking at putting in a 70.3 distance race or a standard distance race a little bit earlier on, maybe the middle or beginning of May. And you could probably also look at getting away with a 70.3, a standard distance race, depending on your ability, in around about the middle of June as well, as you change from one block of training into that final block for Ironman UK over in Bolton. We've also done a shameless plug of a holiday week. Ideally, you come and join us, but any sort of time in and around that middle of March block would be ideal for you guys in terms of putting in a good block of training. You look at doing an overcompensation, supercomposition week, where you're doing a lot more training than you would do, and you recover hopefully satisfactorily afterwards. But by having one of those holiday weeks in there, training holiday weeks, or a focused bit of training and maybe a long weekend or a good bit of training outside of your normal schedule, it'll help give you a little bit of extra gains which you may otherwise miss out on if you were just to do normal training weeks. Not necessarily needed, and you can certainly train completely fine, both in the UK and also without necessarily a training holiday or anything along those lines. But it's just something a lot of people do enjoy doing. So if you do want to go do one of those, please be in touch. We can help you out. But otherwise, it's not necessary at all. So going back to the base phase, then we're looking at this base phase itself, what we want to try and put into it. So to start with, I know you've done some of your training tests. You've hopefully done your CSS test in this water. You've done your lactate threshold test on the bike, and you've also looked at doing a VDOT test for the run. So a little bit about those different tests. Then, if you look at your CSS test, your swimming test, that's looking at trying to work out what your estimated 1500 meter time would be. It's essentially your aerobic threshold. It's something which you can sustain for quite a long time and be able to train consistently at that, but it's not flat out. And that's the key thing that people don't necessarily realize. And actually training at your CSS pace is quite easy for the first few reps, maybe a couple of 100 meters, 400 meters. But as you start going through the session, it gets a lot harder and a lot harder and a lot harder. And that's because you're working at what's aerobically capable of your body doing. And if you think about the Ironman distance swim, you'll be swimming at anything from about 45 minutes if you're quite fast, over to 2 hours 20, which is a cutoff. And that's a long time to swim for. No one really minds if you're really good over 100 meters. What they really want to know about is how good are you over a kilometer? How good are you over 2 kilometers? And can you sustain that pace? So the CSS pacing that we use in a lot of our training sessions is designed to try and help you. And it's not our design, it's what a lot of coaches do use, but it's designed to be there in a position so that you are working hard, but you're not necessarily working too hard. And it's that difficulty knowing what that pace is that is what your CSS testing helps you, so you know what it is and you can actually start training according to that. So you should know, roughly speaking, what your CSS pace is, and we'll come on to that a little bit later on, how we can then assign your training program to that. We also look at your lactate threshold testing. This may be a 10-mile test. It may be something we get power information out of it. It may be a speed type test by having 10 miles, or it may just simply be a heart rate threshold test on the bike. On the bike, it's very, very easy to go too hard when you're supposed to go easy, and it's very easy to go too easy when you're supposed to go hard. And if you're using power, you can really see the differences there. If you're using heart rate, that's another tool which you can use to try and get an idea of what sort of effort you should be going at. Otherwise, you can be using something along the lines of rate of perceived exertion, which is a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being you don't really want to do another rep ever again. You're absolutely knackered. And number 1 being something which you could keep on doing all day. So we appreciate that not everyone has power meters on the bikes. However, using your power meter, so using your heart rate monitor or using a 10-mile test and knowing roughly where you're going, if you retest, you can see your improvements throughout the season. So this gives you a good, repeatable, measured effort, which you can then start seeing, okay, well, actually this time in 20 minutes, say, I went a little bit further than the last time. Maybe I went 12 kilometers this time instead of 10.5. And you can see those gains which you're getting out of doing your testing. And finally, we've got the VDOT test, which most people haven't really heard of. If I mention Jack Daniels, a lot of people sit there going, oh yeah, I know Jack Daniels. It's a really nice thing which comes with a bit of ice and some Coke in the bars. And Jack Daniels is not only a bourbon, but it's also he's a very, very famous running coach in the US, and he developed this concept called VDOT and VDOT training. And without going into a huge amount of science, essentially it's an estimate of your VO2 max and the rate of, or your speed of VO2 max. And from that, there's a whole host of different predicted race times you can get, which are quite accurate. So you can use your VDOT score, which you would have done your test, I think, over 2 miles or 3.2K, or quite commonly a park run as well of 5 kilometers, to start measuring and seeing where you're at, what your performance is, but also gives you some great bits of feedback in terms of training zones as well. So we use your VDOT test as a way of saying, okay, well, this is roughly speaking where you're at in terms of your ability, and it helps us give an ability level for your run sessions. And that's the same with all the different things, be it CSS testing, or be it your VDOT testing, or indeed your lactate threshold testing as well. And we're looking at doing these probably once every 4 weeks throughout your program, so you can touch base and see just actually how things have gone. Now, look, it's not going to be the case that everything goes fantastically well all the time. You may find yourself stagnating a little bit, but improving in other sports, or a few things are coming together, but you just don't quite get the performance output that you're necessarily wanting. And that's totally fine. That's normal. At the end of the day, you're not going to improve at the rate that you might think it is. It's not linear. You're going to meander your way up, oscillate your way up into peak performance. As long as you're seeing the overall trend throughout the season of going up, and you know yourself, you can see it by routes you're doing, training rides you're doing with other people, your heart rate may be lower, but for the same effort or for the same distance. And these are the sort of telltale marks which we're looking at to try and see where your performance actually is going. And it may be not necessarily an absolute speed increase, which actually means you're getting fitter. So feel free to ping those sort of questions to us as you have them, if you do have any of those. And so as we move on through the program here, what we're looking to try and do, is set you guys up with a training program. So we want you to set up the training program which gives you the best chance of the success that you guys want to have. So you can download a training plan from almost anywhere. You can get them for free, and certainly in magazines. If you already paid for the subscription, you can get advice from pretty much everybody you want as well. But what we want to do is we want to give you a training program and a training plan which is unique to you and actually gives you the best opportunity. What we saw when looking through different training programs which were out there, as coaches, it just didn't sit right with us. You can't sit there and say to anybody, I want to have a training plan for my Ironman, my first triathlon, whatever it may be, and it's a beginner program. Because if you give a beginner program for an Ironman or any sort of multi-sport race, you're going to find the situation is that you might be an ex-swimmer who was fantastic at swimming, so a beginner program is just not going to suit you. Yes, it's your first triathlon, but you may be an ex-marathon runner and a fantastic cyclist already. Again, the program is not going to be suitable for you. Or you may be both of those and you can't swim at all. So how is that beginner program or intermediate program going to be suitable for you? So we completely try to change things around a little bit with what we're trying to do with our training programs, and also set it up there so it's an affordable amount. It's not too much in terms of what you're ending up spending for something which very much sits between an everyday downloadable program and also something which you have a coach taking you through it. So it sits very much between the kind of the free programs, free training plans, and a coach. So with one of our TRIplans or training plans, you're looking at changing things up by macro phase, and that means you've got your base phase, your build phase, and your competition phase. What this means is if you change throughout the training program, you find actually with a bit of training, you've suddenly vastly improved your CSS pacing. So you actually need a different level of swim plan going into the next phase. But as you change the plan, you put the different sessions in and the different choices, you find you're going to get a slightly more, should we say, slightly harder training plan going into the following phase. We also recognize that different races require different training programs and different training stresses as well. So we look at as well the distance of the race that you're doing. In this case, clearly we're looking at setting you guys up with a base phase. We're looking at setting you guys up with long course triathlon, so Ironman. But bearing in mind, as we go through, you can choose a build phase, and it's not going to have a reflection on the fact that you have to continue doing the same sessions the whole way through. We also choose your different disciplines. It may be you only want to have a bike plan because that's all you need. You're an ex-swimmer, you've got a swim club, you've got a run club, you just want to have a bike program. That's absolutely fine, but these are designed to work and integrate together as well. We also recognize that everybody's got different schedules. It's all very well. Myself and my best friend are saying we're going to sign up for a triathlon together. We're going to go ahead and do it and actually end up in a position where they are able to get to the pool 5 times and I can only get there twice a week. And we just can't follow the same program. So this lets you give a little bit of flexibility. So you can choose how many sessions you want to have. It'd be at 2, 3, 4, or 5 for each individual sport. So it may be 2 bikes, 3 swims, and 5 runs if that's what works out for you. And finally, we look at fitting it to your abilities again. So that's where the importance of having those testing results are for you. So making sure you've got your CSS results in front of you, your lactate threshold, your bike tests, and also your run tests as well. So that's what makes the training plans themselves unique for you. So if we go forwards now, we go to www.trytrainingharder.com, and we look at look at signing up for one of these TRIplans. I'll help you guys by setting it up and show you how to load it up in the next few slides, and then we'll come back to the base phase and a few other questions at the end. So if you go to our homepage, you have a nice view of Portugal, which is always nice, and you go up to the top left-hand side and click on coaching, and let that drop down come down, and from that you're going to click on TRIplans. There, it's our version of training plans. When you click on that TRIplans option, you're going to have a couple of choices, I hope, as my slide catches up with me. No. You're going to have a couple of options, and from that one you want to definitely have a look at the video at the top of the slide and other page and the website, and then scroll down a little bit and you're going to choose a do-it-yourself option. You're more than welcome to go coach assisted, but if you like this webinar, which you're doing at the moment, it does actually help you with the coach kind of talking you through it. The coach assisted would mean that we'd also start taking more information for you, and again, it's one of those next steps up. It's not quite having a coach, but you're going to have a coach who's going to help talk you through the options. If you've got multiple races in a season and you want to try and make sure you peak for both of them, if you want to have contact points with someone, maybe have a couple of consultations throughout the year, and just make sure everything's going in the right direction. Having that coach on the side will help you just for those few touch points for the season. However, with what we're doing at the moment, the do-it-yourself option, and hopefully a bit of help through these webinar series and question and answers should help you on your way quite a lot easier. So if you pick do-it-yourself and then start having a look at the different options that you've got. So as we go through this one, we're going to want to choose the training phase which we're in right now, which is going to be the base phase. And then we're going to choose the long course or Ironman type of training program. And you can try getting away with middle distance or Olympic distance, but it's just going to give you a little bit short as you hit the bike of the marathon. And you're going to choose the disciplines of the sport that you want to have. In this instance, we're choosing swim. We're going to start then going through and having a look at how many sessions that we want to do per week, and then start selecting what the ability is that we want to have, which is based on your CSS base. I'm just going to let the slides catch up again. And okay, so that's good. When we've got the choice, you've got a choice of what those paces are. Those are done for 100 meters. So if you're someone who swims around about 125 or 135 as your CSS pace for 100 meters, then in this instance, this is the plan that you're going to want to choose. From that, you can then click on Get Your Plans and the red button at the bottom. And when you click on the red button at the bottom, you then get taken through to the next slide or the next page here, which is where you can download your swim plan. Now, when we click on the download your swim plan, you're going to get taken off our website to Training Peaks, which is our coaching platform, which we use, coaching software, which we use. And you have a bit of a spiel about what the session's all about and the number of sessions that you do. So you've chosen your 3 sessions a week and a CSS pace of 125 to 135. You're going to have to buy it in dollars. That's because Training Peaks is a US company, and that's the sales platform which they do. And you will have to go and enter your payment details through Training Peaks as you go here. So I'm not going to start filling out my card details for everyone to see online. However, we'll assume that that's all happened nicely, and you can go and do that for all your different sports. Just a point to note, if you're going to choose your bike and your run paces at the same time as well, you will get the option to download your swim plan, download your run plan, and download your bike plan. You'll just get sent to 3 new windows, which you're going to have to open and pay. Sadly, we haven't built in the capabilities of downloading them all as multiple items in a basket just yet with Training Peaks, but that may come in the future. In the meantime, though, when you come back into your Training Peaks account, this is the Try Training Harder coaching one, the master account. So when you come back into your Training Peaks account, you log in with your details. If you haven't got a Training Peaks account, you can pretty much, as you're looking at it right now, sign up for one. It's free. It's totally free. You may do that through the check-in details anyway, as you go to buy the plan. When you do opt, go into your Training Peaks account, you'll see the option at the bottom, which is Training Plan Library. If you click on Training Plan Library, you'll then be able to see the different programs that you may have or different plans that you've got there. You may have other ones in there already. You may have downloaded a preparation phase 1, which has got some of your testing in there as well. And what you look at doing here then is choosing the session that the plan that you're going to do, and you're going to then load it onto Training Peaks. So you're going to click on it, and then you can see there that you can choose the start date. And in this instance, we're looking at starting today. The good news is that today does start off with a rest day, so you're fine. But you're going to start it up on the 5th of December, and that will get you prepped up, ready going through into Ironman UK in July. So click on the number of athletes, your athlete name, click on start, then click on apply, and then you will see the training plan populating through into your calendar view. Oops. just wait for that to load up properly. So there you go. You'll then see that you've got all the three, in this instance, 3 swim sessions in the week. You've also got a nice little welcome thing. Have a read through the welcome packet, because in the welcome pack, it will have a bit more information. It's got a downloadable PDF, which you can have a look at, see what the different types of sessions are, which you're going to be doing, understand what it means by swim techniques, some information on what happens if you miss a session, how to deal with certain scenarios which may come up. It's basically like having a kind of a comfort blanket or anything. It's got a lot of information in there, be it how to train, develop the sessions, what the different intensity zones mean, etc., going through the sports. So have a read through the welcome pack, which is in the welcome session. So click on that and then have a look at that one. But as you go through this, you then can look at the different training plans for all the other ones, bike and run. As I said, you just go through the process, and if you choose them all at once, you do have 3 downloadable options, and they'll open up as 3 different windows which you can open up and then assign to your Training Peaks account. And that's it. That's basically how you take your training program and apply it to your own Training Peaks account. From there, as long as you apply it on the same day, they will integrate properly. So you will have rest days on the days which are supposed to be rest days, depending what sessions you're doing throughout the week. It will also try and put the sessions which are more likely to be done and achievable on a weekend. Predominantly in terms of light as well. So the bike sessions, you might have a hill session on the weekend, because you can't really go out and do hills in the dark. You can, but it's a lot safer to do them in the daytime. So it gives you an interval session throughout the week, for example, or an easier ride, which you could do on a turbo or include as part of your commute if you wanted to. So the different training sessions should link up nicely, both in terms of the intensity. So you shouldn't have too many hard days. Some days are supposed to be hard, but you shouldn't have too many of the hard days, and they do run in together quite nicely as well. So a few things then, a little bit about what we're trying to achieve with the base phase. It is very much overlooked, and you see one key word there which comes up a few times, but the real focus behind base phase is try and make yourself get into a training routine and build up consistency. It is very easy efforts of training which you're going to be looking at doing in your base phase or your preparation phase, and that is very much deliberate. We're trying to get you moving correctly, functioning correctly. We want to get your strength and conditioning up. If you're following a strength and conditioning program, you can't do that alongside a very intense training program. We want to make sure your posture, both normally but also when doing your sports, is there as well, which then allows you to have decent neuromuscular coordination or motor patterning as you go through the movements, be it swim mechanics or be it running mechanics. Also, this is your opportunity to build in your bike. If you're going to have a bike fit now, get it zeroed in for the rest of the season. Work on your things like your stability and your stability of your strength as well. How strong are you, and how stable are you, and how much does that interact? The biggest limiter to people achieving the Ironman aims and dreams, and indeed any big aims and dreams anyone has for any of the parts of the sport, is generally down to maintaining a health and injury free. So this is where, with the base phase, you're really trying to put together the consistency and trying to make sure that the sessions are all there, that the sessions are as consistent as you can do. It's better to get out and do half an hour than miss everything completely. So try and keep things going. But at the same time, it's also about trying to work out what's manageable as well. So you may have seen, okay, brilliant, I can do 5 sessions a week in all my 3 different sports. That's 15 sessions a week. And I'm going to choose myself. I think I'm this sort of pace, but I'm actually going to go a little bit harder because I'm going to challenge myself. Ironman's challenging enough. Don't make the training too hard for you either, because you're going to lose that consistency. You're going to pick up an injury or get ill or run yourself down through just overtraining. And not enough recovery, which then means you're going to be no fun for anybody else, and also you're going to lose a lot of the training time you have, because you're going to be recovering from that break from your training. As point 5 says, and I think it's a really useful point to make as well, is that this is not the heroic stage. This is not the point when you're going to start going out there and doing your hundreds of kilometer rides at the weekend and smashing out massive sessions and the intervals and everything else. Trust me, that's coming. The build phase is hard. It's not easy at all. But the idea from this is to set yourself up to do a fantastic build phase. This isn't about trying to smash out the best possible miles. No one really cares who the fastest athlete is in January, but we do care who the fastest athlete is, or indeed the athlete who's finishing the race they set out to do in the time they wanted to do. And we do care about that in July. So this is a time where patience is very, very important. And we look, as coaches, we talk about the maturity of an athlete. And you can see the mature athletes, patient athletes, the ones who just hold a little bit more reserve. They don't get too excited about the fact they've just started training again, and they build into this sensibly and nicely. So hopefully following the programs that we've done before with the email notifications, the build and the preparation phase, this base phase, will set you up really nicely to then start doing the really hard training in March or February-March period as we move into that build part of the program. And it also, with this period, you can now start using your time to sort out your admin. So where are you going to stay? What time do you have with regards to work? When is your work going to be? Can you get time off work for the event in question? How much time do you want to have? Are you wanting to be racing down the Monday after the event? Or are you going to try and see if you can take Monday off as well? What does that mean in terms of accommodation? I know for a lot of the accommodation blocks, in a lot of the Ironman races, around the country, around the world, not just the country, you find that a lot of the time the accommodation gets used up quite quickly, and you end up staying a lot further away or in less ideal locations than you might want. These are the sort of race day pressures you want to try and get rid of, and you can get rid of them really easily by being really, really planned and getting things sorted now. Now, clearly, if you're doing you're starting training now, you're probably one of these people a little bit more organized. Maybe you're a little bit scared about the plan that you set yourself or the target you set yourself, and that's totally fine. But use the time now to help minimize race day stresses, because they will come about, and the more of the race day stresses you can worry about, which are actually things to worry about, and make sure you get things right, the better. And you're going to free up your headspace if you've got all those things sorted now. So things like how you get there, who's going to be there, are you going to have supporters there as well? And we'll talk about other things like nutrition and things like that later on. So in terms of what you want to be looking at doing next, the next steps, if you haven't already, download your training plan, which means setting up in your Training Peaks account as well. So load it up in your Training Peaks account. Start training. Training starts today, so to speak. This is the first day of your training program. So congratulations, you made it this far. And it's a really exciting thing, especially if you're signing up for your first ever Ironman. It's a really, really special race to go and do. It's going to be cool. It's going to not be particularly nice. The training is going to be awesome and also terrible at the same time. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. And that's basically why people mainly do it. They love the fact that they're challenging themselves. If it wasn't a challenge, then you find a lot of people ending up doing it, and that's not the case with Ironman. So with your Ironman training, welcome. And your next thing from me, we're going to go through some questions and answers in a second or two. But if you do have any questions, ping them across to us at coaching@tritrainingharder.com, and I'll get back to you by replying to that. Otherwise, if you do want to have a little bit more bespoke training, we can have a consultation together. Alternatively, you can even sign up and have your own coach as well, if that's maybe what you're looking for, instead of this kind of unique but reasonably open plan. You can start working with a coach who give you your sessions individually as well as you go along. But the next big time for us will be Monday, the 23rd of January, again about 8 p.m. You'll receive email notifications about that as we take ourselves away from the base phase and move into the build phase through spring and into the start of the racing season. So we're now going to take any questions, and if you've got anything else you want to discuss in a bit more length, please do email me. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you all on Monday, the 23rd of January. So if there are any questions, just type them down your chat box on the right-hand side, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Excellent. Well, it doesn't seem to be that there are any questions. So we'll call an end to the whole thing here. As I said, if you do have any further thoughts or questions, just email us at coaching@tritrainingharder.com. Alternatively, I'll speak to you all on the 23rd of January, and I look forward to hearing how your first few weeks, 8 weeks training phase has gone. Anyway, good night and enjoy your training. Thank you.